And now, this week's edition of Big Face with your host, Samantha Jane Tilton.
Hey guys, welcome to Big Face. I'm your host, Sammy Jane Tilton, and my guest today is Bryce Craver, actor, yoga teacher, awesome dude that I'm coming to know. And thanks for being here, man.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yay. We've been talking about this for a while.
Definitely. Since the before times.
Since the before times, exactly. I know. Remember, last time I saw you, we met up at an audition, like randomly, and that's when I told you about the podcast.
Yeah, it was like a modeling thing, right?
Yeah. What the hell was that?
It was so weird. I started doing yoga poses like while they were taking pictures of me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do want to hear more about yoga stuff. So you've mentioned it briefly before. So by the way, guys, so if you watch the other episodes of the acting class that I teach, Bryce is one of my students and a very, very talented dude if you've seen his work. And it's true. I go on about you. We'll talk more about that. But
right.
Yeah, so yoga is a big piece of what you do. And we've never really talked about that.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of myself, which I try not to do too often, but when I think about like the way that I identify as a person, like the various categories that I fit into, I think of myself very professionally as an actor, but very like personally in my personal life as more of a yoga teacher.
Interesting. How so?
I just like, I mean, I don't know how much we really want to get into it, but during teacher training, I had like the closest thing that I'll probably ever have to a religious experience. Like, I think that I had a pretty typical upbringing, like a loose relationship with Christianity. And then you get to a point where you're a skeptic and you're like, oh, fuck all that stuff, you know, like it's all dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then like, I kind of unexpectedly, I really just did teacher training because I wanted to be a yoga teacher. I wanted to know like how to conduct a class. But part of the curriculum is learning like the ancient holy texts, one of which being the Yoga Sutras and the other one being the Bhagavad Gita. And both of them, like, I connected with in ways that I never would have predicted. Like, it was the first time that religion was, had like a utility for me. It used to just seem like kind of moral scolding, like things to do and not to do. Whereas this is more just like, here's a way to conduct yourself in the world. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the just like
a moral compass?
Kind of, but even like almost avoiding morality, like just kind of accepting the world. I try to avoid value judgments just in general. I try to just like see a behavior and see like what led up to that behavior. And if it's harming someone, how do we like stop the leading up to rather than just punishing what the behavior is, like that kind of thing.
That's a wonderful thing to be able to do as an actor.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of people aren't able to do that. There's a lot of judgment and how they see characters and stuff. So that's a wonderful thing to be able to do as an actor, especially. Yeah,
totally. And there are times when I find myself judging characters and then it's just like, oh, well, you haven't dug into it enough. You know, you don't understand it enough.
You're always open-minded and you're always open to suggestion. And like, even when I give you direction, the way that you process it, like I see you, the wheels turn and without judgment, you just try and let it like work in and through you.
For sure.
So that, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Yeah. I often think about how I became a yoga teacher like 3 years ago.
I was going to ask when.
Yeah, and shortly after that is when I got laid off, and I was like, okay, it's now or never for everything, for yoga teaching, for acting. It's like, I'm 38 years old. I'm in New York City. Yeah. Like, if anything, I'm going to have less opportunity in the future, so I might as well like go for it now. And early on, starting out with acting, a lot of it is just like getting your ducks in a row. You know, it's like having a resume, having a reel, like having headshots, like. And I think that, and part of me used to like be angry at myself for not getting all that stuff done 10 years ago. But I also think that if I had tried 10 years ago, my ego would have been so fragile that through all the process of people telling me basically like, oh no, this is wrong. Like this thing that you think is great is actually wrong for like these very simple reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I would have gone into like a defensive mode where it's like, well, what I thought was, and like, maybe you should have explained it better, and like shit like that. Whereas
I get
like,
a lot of that from people.
yeah. Oh no, sorry. Zoom's the worst.
Oh, is it a delay?
Yeah. It's harder to have a conversation, you know.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. So guys, yeah, I mean, you know what this is. This is quarantine. This is internet connections, unstable. So if there's delayed or awkwardness, it's definitely not Bryce and I, because we rock on in our talks. So it's definitely just internet. So just bear with us.
Yeah. Just take that into account.
Or if I step over his words or he steps over mine, we're usually pretty polite with one another. So go ahead. So yeah.
I mean, just to wrap it up quickly, as I don't think that I would have been able to look at criticism without ego the way that I am able to now after having done yoga teacher training.
Wow. It's amazing. You know, I used to, for myself, when I first started acting, everything was about acting. And I was like very, very driven to do everything with regards to acting. And then like stuff happened in my life and I couldn't fully do that. There was other things to worry about in life and take care of. And I felt so bad about myself. Like I'm not pursuing. And it's been over time that I've realized that every other thing that I was doing and that made me grow went right back to my acting. It wasn't just about getting all those ducks in a row. All those like inner ducks were getting in a row to bring. So acting's such an interesting process, right? Because our product is our spirit and our emotional well-being. You know, it's all of that.
Yeah, our truth.
Exactly.
I was talking to a couple friends. A buddy of mine runs a wine shop in the West Village, and he kind of got like impromptu interviewed by a local news station, and they did like a pre-interview, which went great, and then they were like, "Okay, now just do that again," and he was like, "I don't know how to." We just had a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that kind of prompted him to ask me like what acting is, and is it like, is it about being able to put something on immediately? And for me, it's about taking everything away. It's like, just like get those layers away and then just be like the you that you need to be at the moment.
How have you come to, that's such a, like, so for anybody that is not so familiar with acting or even just emotional work, like that's what is like, how do you explain that more? Like the getting away the layers, and especially with regards to acting, because I have a comment on it, but I want to hear.
Yeah. Well, sometimes when I think about performing a monologue, like even in classes of yours that I've done, I get too complicated. Like you add on too many different things. It's like, okay, I'm this person, my relationship is this, this is my upbringing, and you just like, you're piling all these things on when all it really is like preparing yourself to feel the same way that person feels in the moment.
It's amazing because that's so well put. It's that simple, which is fascinating because like in some ways before I studied acting, in some ways I almost think I was better because I was never trained. So I didn't know, who am I talking to? What's my intention? What's my moment before? What catapults me into the scene? And then like, once I started learning all those things, that's all I could think about. Like, what do I want? The action. And then trying to like hallucinate and see the person's face because I had to know my partner. Whereas at some point, it's great to learn that stuff. You need to have these things in mind to be an actor, but then stripping all that away and then just being that person. Right. It sounds it's so simple, but it's such a difficult process, I think, for an actor.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, like a lot of different things in life, because you need that background, but you also just need like the thing you've already got.
Yeah. And I know for me, it's been such a process of trusting what I've already got. And like you said, you know, I think that's the same thing with growing as a person as well as in a character or an actor. It's like, instead of trying to like add on or fix or go to all these external things. It's like clearing it away, like clearing away all the ideas or the preconceived thing, just clearing all that. And then to just be, but that's like a lifelong process, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the really optimistic part of me thinks that this virus situation is actually leading to a lot of that for a lot of different people.
To be able to be
Well,
more?
to be able, the clearing away, the reprioritizing, like things that are actually important to you.
I so hope so.
Yeah, it would be nice.
It's a really strange thing. Like sometimes I'll go periods of time where I'm not so focused on the quarantine and what's happening because I'm just doing my thing or trying to stay present. But then sometimes, like yesterday, I was like really, or 2 days ago, I was like crying, just like, what's happening? Like, is it ever going to be? Are people going to be different? Is this going to change anything? Is this like, I just miss people.
Sure.
I miss life. It's
casual hugs, like
yeah.
Hugs where you don't have to ask for like 3 kinds of like, you sure? Sure. Do you want? Here's where I've been last week. Like, here's my steps.
So true.
Yeah.
I know. It's a really. It's. I've only been around these people. These are their tests. These are. I know, it's crazy.
My contact tracing.
Right? Have you been around people during this time?
I have pretty limitedly. I have a buddy across the street, so we'll go to like outdoor bars together. He's hung out here a couple times with a couple people, but I have like a decent sized apartment. Like, we're usually pretty conscious of being at least 6 feet away from each other.
That's good.
I have another friend down the street who has a roof deck, so we've hung out.
Great.
Oh my God, it's like
that's a haven.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, that's really nice.
It makes me realize how much I miss just being outside in the sun.
That's what I miss so much. Like I was supposed to go camping a couple of weeks ago, and you know this, I've been sick. So those of you guys, maybe if you watched another episode, if not, if you
missing out.
Yeah, you're missing out, man. Missing things like this guy. Yeah, I've had a fever it's going on 7 weeks now. Like today it was 101.1.
Oh my God.
And some days, like I was getting short of breath earlier and like exhausted. Every day is different, but it's like, I will say, like, this gets me out of feeling that way. People are like, my dad, I even spoke to him earlier, and he's like, but when I watch you, you seem like you're healthy and you're spunky. And I'm like, it's amazing because that for me, being with like you, being with class, it gets me out of, I forget about how I'm actually even feeling because it's so good to be with you guys. You know, it's so nice to connect. And so I was supposed to go camping, and like that for me is like a haven. I just want to be outside.
Yeah.
I have 2 more camping trips planned that I'm hoping will come through.
Yeah. Coming up, planned for sure, or?
Yeah, booked. And guys, so anybody, if you're scared of me, if you do ever see me, I've tested negative for COVID 3 times and 0.0 antibodies, but who the hell knows? I'm glad you go out. I'm glad you see people safely. That's great.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. I'd just like turn into a crazy person. I'd start ranting and raving. And, I have been doing a lot of crying. I have been crying a lot.
Have you?
Yeah, definitely.
Is it helpful?
Yeah, it's yet another thing. I mean, again, talking about the quarantine, it makes me feel almost like it's a forced meditation. Like you can't help but just like consider things in a more even way.
Yes.
There's nobody to bounce them off against.
I know. And you do have a roommate who hasn't been there, right?
Yeah, my roommate's been in Saudi Arabia, where he's from.
Right.
Since February. So, yeah.
I know that's a good, like, I love my space, right? But is it also hard to not have another person at all with you, or is it you're pretty okay with it?
I'm pretty okay with it. I've always been a person that's okay with extended periods of alone time. But it would be nice just to have like another presence around every once in a while.
Yeah.
But that being said, like I've been able to use the living room a ton. Like I use it for workouts and stuff. I'm like always cooking in the kitchen.
Yeah. So before we got on this call, so you made a an hour-long omelet.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm driving up to New Hampshire to visit my family this Friday.
That's right.
And I like my grocery shopping has become very automatic. It's just like, I'm out of food, I'll go grocery shopping.
Right.
And I usually get a bunch of stuff, you know, for like a week or so.
Yeah.
But I forgot on Monday, I guess, that I was leaving on Friday. So I bought like
all this crap.
Yeah, so much produce. And I was just like, okay, I'll have bacon and eggs and I'll make a smoothie. And I was like, no, just make an omelet. Like, less dishes. Yeah. It's all in one place. So I like just chopped a bunch of vegetables and cooked those and poured some egg over it. It was like an omelet frittata hybrid kind of
That's okay. That's a lot of effort, man. I do love omelets, but if you're going to make a really good one, yeah, it does take some time to chopping the vegetables. Sometimes I just don't have that in me.
No, for sure. I don't think I did. I think if I consider it, I wouldn't have.
Yes.
But, yeah.
It's, again, can't clear it away. Don't think of anything.
Dive in. Make an hour-long omelet.
Seriously, good for you. Now I don't even have eggs. They all went bad. So I want to ask you, when did you start acting? I don't even know this about you.
So,
did you study it in school? Did you go to college?
I've never, like, Scott Powers acting classes are like the first acting classes I've ever taken. Actually.
Really?
Yeah. Like in third grade, I want to say I was in like a school play. And then I don't think I did anything until college. And then for like the latter part of college, I did a sketch comedy show with a bunch of friends of mine.
Yeah.
And then after college, there was another like 5 years where I did nothing. And then I started doing sketch comedy like around the city, just like live sketch comedy. Friends of mine knew that I had acted before and had groups that needed actors. So I just started performing at the Pit a bunch. And yeah.
That's like the next place. I took improv classes at UCB, which apparently I only learned during quarantine that they all shut down. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I mean, it's happened in the last 2 months. It's very recent. Yeah. I
was like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because that's a state. I really couldn't believe it.
I know.
But that's actually, I didn't, while UCB was great, I think you know how I feel. Like I hate like a one set answer for everybody or a certain way to do something.
It was very structured.
Very.
Yeah.
And formulaic. Like with that, it's like, and I don't believe that there's a one size fits all. I do believe that formula works and it makes sense, but I do believe that there are other things as well to explore. So I always wanted to go to the Pit. So like before all this happened, I was wanting to go to the Pit. So you liked it there?
Yeah, definitely. And I never did improv there, just sketch. Yeah. But there's just like, it's a lovely little community. And you go and you do your show, you hang out at the bar, you see a bunch of people that maybe you've done shows with in the past. And
that's awesome.
Just one of the million things that I miss.
I know.
Yeah.
When life goes back to normal, let's do something over there.
Yeah, totally.
It's so funny because, would you say, I'm switching gears, but would you say comedy, what's the thing you're most drawn to?
I like, to me, comedy is something I can just kind of jump into. Yeah. Like the language is more mathematical to me, just as far as like beats and timing and things like that. Yeah. So I like that, but I do like the very difficult emotional parts. I wouldn't want to do all of either, you know? Yeah. I feel like they're nice additions to each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm just remembering that, like when we first started working together in class and stuff, that you had mentioned that you did sketch comedy, and I feel like all I ever assigned you was like very dark material.
Yeah, it's like Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
Boyd Crowder.
Dude, I gotta say, your Boyd Crowder. So last we that was on what we worked on in class.
Yeah, definitely. Twice.
And then, yes, twice. And then was it, trying to think when we recorded it. Did we work on it after that recording at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think we did it once for the podcast.
Yes.
And then we did it once for class, like whatever the next class after the podcast was.
So if you guys did see Bryce do the piece that he chose from Justified, which was awesome. We recorded it for the podcast, which you already did a great job, but then you guys didn't even get to see, even just taking in the notes from that to the next class that we recorded. Dude, I watched it a few times.
Oh, no way.
And I hope it's okay. I even showed John.
No, that's cool.
I was so, not to be condescending, I was so proud of you and so impressed with how far you came with that.
Oh,
and like you really do, you take direction so well.
Oh, thanks.
You take it in, you let it noodle around in there, and you just go. Are you hard on yourself?
I used to be extremely hard on myself. My last breakup forced me to start to get rid of that.
Things serve a purpose in whatever way, even when we can't see it during the time. Right.
Because it was like, after that breakup, it kind of came out of nowhere, not to like get too into the details, but I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And I was really devastated by it. And I proceeded to just like abuse myself worse than I've ever abused myself. As far as like language, there was no,
the way you speak to yourself.
Yeah. And again, after teacher training, it got me to a point where I was like really putting a concerted effort into forgiving everybody, like every human being, like ever. And the self-talk got me to a point where I was like, you would never talk to anybody this way. Like anybody. People that you disagreed with horribly, like people that you thought did horrible things, like you wouldn't, if they came to you and were hurting, you wouldn't talk to them this way. And that's what you're doing right now.
It's such a huge awareness, and then making those changes to change the tapes and the language that I identify with the way that I speak to myself, and the way I treat myself. Like I would always say to somebody like, and it's so easy for me to say to somebody else, like, you're wonderful. Great. Yeah, exactly. Like, you're wonderful. Like, you're allowed to be human and mess up, and you're, and I feel it, and I'm 100% truthful. But when it comes to me, it's like, Sammy, put the bad away. Like, I'll just hammer myself, and it's it's a relearning of, I think that to some degree, I'll speak for myself, it's things that I've learned,
Definitely.
Yeah. And unlearning that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
My dad was a perfectionist, still pretty much is. And like, I feel like I picked up some negative self-talk from both of my parents. And my dad, like, mistakes were like almost unforgivable. Like, he would get so angry when he would make mistakes. And that's how I was for a while. When he would make mistakes. Yeah.
I identify with my dad, and when he watches this, sorry, Dad, but it's true. Like, he'll mess something up. Like, when working on the computer, he's gotten way better in these last few years with the anger, but like, he'd mess up something, type something wrong, print something wrong, and he'd be like, fuck, you fucking idiot, and he'd be screaming, cursing, and my brother and I would be like, Dad, chill.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, and so I'll speak for myself, having a parent that is that hard on themselves with that negative, I definitely absorbed.
Yeah, because no matter how loving and positive they are, you're going to observe that behavior and soak it in. It's just kids know so much intuitive thing. There's so many intuitive things. Kids are so much smarter. Oh yeah. Than we give them credit for. Yeah, they know what's going on. I have such a respect for kids. I think they are like, I was always, I've shared things with you like in class and stuff, but I was always like,
in trouble as a kid and judged, and like I got progress reports. I was always grounded, but really I was like acting out because things were happening and I was hurting, but nobody ever like tried to understand that.
Right.
Like you said earlier, you said, you know, instead of, if somebody's acting a certain way, try and understand what led them to that instead of being like, you know, condemning.
Never do that again.
Yeah, exactly. And the understanding of what got somebody to that is, I don't know, it's so important.
Definitely.
That compassion.
And I mean, when we were growing up, I think about the difference between, I mean, obviously adults have an awareness that kids aren't quite capable of, but I think that it's mostly an experiential awareness. So it's like we're learning about new psychological concepts and how to talk about things and how to deal with trauma at the same rate that like a 20-year-old is also learning. So like me at 41 versus somebody at 20, we're kind of on the same level when it comes to that kind of stuff. The only difference is that I have a little bit more life experience, can maybe offer a different perspective.
Yeah.
But I think, kids are learning the new stuff when we're learning the new stuff. So
it's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. But like, it's fascinating that you started acting at a later time, because the same, God, if I would have started when I was younger, oh my God, like I can't even imagine the harshness, because it's still a process of not being harsh, you know, with myself and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I can't believe that you've only studied. So how many years have you been doing classes and stuff?
I mean, doing classes, like I did before I started taking classes with Scott, I took a thing called the Actors Project.
Okay.
And it wasn't fully classes, but you do get directed. But other than Scott, I've never taken an acting class.
You're a talented dude, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I just have a lot of emotions. Yeah. It's really all it comes down to.
I think that's probably, I always say when I refer to you, like, and I've wanted to have you on for so long. I appreciate you so much. And I have since I met you, and I feel like you and I get on so well. And it's probably, we're probably very similar then. I think we both feel a lot of stuff, sensitive, can also have a good sense of humor about stuff.
Yeah. Like a doctor's sense of humor.
Yes.
Like, we're fucked. Yeah.
That's so funny. I wanted to ask you, so you said you had shared this with me like a couple of courses ago when we did, I remember we did we were on like a consult on the phone, and you had told me that you had started writing a script. Have you been still writing that?
I've given it a little bit of a break because I think that I need to start over. I'm about halfway done, but I'm 180 pages in. So I should have been done 70 pages ago, but I'm only halfway there. And I've just realized that I need to cut a lot of stuff, and I need to restructure it. I need to make sure that the structure is clear because I'm trying to deal with like 4 main characters. Okay. Yeah.
Have you like brought anyone in for like with you to kind of look at it with a fresh eye,
Not yet. It's definitely something that I'm open to, especially because I find it so terrifying.
I just want to say about Bryce and about you, Bryce and you, you're really courageous when it comes to acting, and like, if I say something, you're like, you're like, yep, like throw it my way. Like you're very open to challenging yourself. And so like that, you're very aware of yourself, like that's terrifying. And so you're like, I'm open to that.
Right. It's like, it means you should do it because
that's exactly it.
It's going to expose you to outside criticism, which may hurt you a little bit, but it's going to make you better. It's going to help improve your technique.
As long as it's from a safe, like well-meaning person, right?
Sure.
I remember reading in The Artist's Way, like she would say,
I'm reading that now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
No way. Is this your first time reading it?
Yeah. So I've been doing pages for like a week and a half now. And
No.
Yeah.
So have you started, like, have you started week 1? Or are you still reading the book?
I'm going to read, after we're done here, I'm going to read week 2. So, yeah.
And so you've been doing week 1?
Yeah, definitely. Did all the questions, like wrote down all the things. Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that you're doing The Artist's Way. So like if anybody hasn't heard of The Artist's Way, even if you're not an artist or an actor, for any human being, it is life-changing. And I feel like for any human, it would help get you closer to being unblocked and closer to who you want to be, in my opinion. And so it's funny because I may ask you, how would you feel about having an accountability partner?
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And you sound like you're doing it and you don't need accountability. I've never finished it.
You've never finished The Artist's Way?
I did it. I did it, I think, through like week 9. So it's a 12-week course.
Okay.
And left to my own devices, and that's resistance. That's totally resistance. And I never fully, maybe I even did week 10. I just never fully completed it. And there's another girl that works at Actors Connection. And I talked to her about doing it, and she's like, she was so like resistant. And then we made a commitment to do it. I think she finished it. She was like nailing it. And I was like, I never read it. Like, I need accountability. Left to my own devices, it's tough.
I mean, so I'm only on week 2.
Yeah.
If you wanna do week 1,
yes.
Why don't you do week 1, and then starting on Sunday, I'll text you every week. Just be like, how was week 1? How's week 1 going?
Yeah. So when did you start week 2?
I was going to start it today, but I can I already love, like, the pages are already such a big deal to me. Like, it makes so much sense to just like clear your head every morning of stuff.
I have to tell you, so there's a part of, The Artist's Way, there's the morning pages, which is part of it. You can read the book, but you write every morning. I was like, I'm not going to explain it. But I got to say, I did that for like a couple of years, never missed a day. It changed my life.
Yeah.
It absolutely. And then I went to a retreat that was like 2 weeks, and we had to be up I think before 6 a.m, and it messed up my whole write my pages. And you were with other people. It was like a group setting, so you were on a schedule. And I never fully got back to it.
Gotcha.
It's a routine thing. I don't know. It's hard.
No, it's one of those positive habits. You gotta flex it like a muscle.
Right? I'm so happy. I'm so happy you're doing that. It's such an amazing thing.
I've been trying. Oh, sorry.
No. Go.
I've been trying to just figure out. I've been reading books on creativity because I have a hard time. But that's the thing, is like, I don't have necessarily a problem yet generating ideas. It's more like the perspiration. Yeah, it's not the inspiration. It's So I've read a couple of books on creativity, and they're just like, oh, if you don't have any ideas, try these different exercises. And it's like, that's nice. It's good to have like on the back burner. But what I need to do is like sit down and work every day. So the pages are helping a bit with that. Just like getting that routine.
It's so good. You know what I just realized? I think the reason that I stopped was perfectionism. I think I like missed a morning, or I like didn't do my date that week or whatever. And it was like all or nothing for me. I didn't do it perfect. So why am I doing it?
Yeah.
It's such crap.
I know.
Such crap.
I know. I used to agonize, like when I would write essays in college, I used to agonize over like sentence structure and words. And it took me so long to realize that it's more about finishing a thing than it is doing it perfectly. Because then you can go back and like fix this and that. But if you never finish it.
I know. And and I don't know. I think I said for myself, like for me, it helps to have support. It always does. Like, that's why accountability, some people are great on their own and they get things done. They don't need anybody's help. But for me, I'm so good when I am accountable, teamwork. Like a friend of mine and we're writing a web series, and my boyfriend John he's a comedian, and so he's partly writing it and producing it also because he's a huge piece of it. But it's so, point being, 3 sets of eyes going back and forth, seeing each other's, redoing it, saying this doesn't really work, this, and it's like, but without any kind of ego about it, just being honest and open because it's safe to, is like, it's coming a ways. It's like, you know, it's just, I think collaboration is really great when you're.
And any form of structure, like when I did teacher training, it was kind of like having a semester of grad school on top of a 9-to-5 job. It was like, when I wasn't at work, I would come home and I would have to read and do exercises. And then like, you know, Saturday was just yoga for like 12 hours. Like we got up, we had morning practice. Yeah, we did like posture clinics. And I did really well. It wasn't fun or easy, you know, I was constantly working, but I had no problem getting things done just because there was that structure, because there were deadlines, you know?
It's, you know, it's funny because like rules and stuff and can seem like it used to be like this for certain things where I would like make things very structured for myself. It would, my cat's walking around as usual. And I'd be like, it would feel like such a loss that like now I can't just be free. But it turned out for me that the discipline, the structure actually gave me so much freedom. Because then I didn't have to feel like I wasn't doing it. It quieted the noise, and I just felt better because I was doing.
Right.
You know, it's funny. I'll just tell you. So you did a piece from Sopranos. You did in class, and ever since you did that, I was like, I want to watch Sopranos. I've always wanted to watch it. I've only seen episodes here and there. Dude, I'm in season 4. Like I'm killing it.
Just like plowing through Sopranos.
I've been in bed sick. I'm just like Sopranos.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's
so good.
I have so many good scenes that I've written down, and there's actually one that is very comedic that I was thinking about using for class on Monday. It's not a sitcom. It's obviously a drama. It's Sopranos, but it's a very funny scene. I think it might be interesting to see how the timing would be totally different than with the sitcom. So yeah, that might happen.
Nice.
Thanks for doing Sopranos because you brought it to my world.
Yeah, no problem. I love that show. Absolutely.
I was just, the reason you were talking about structure, and they were going to send like Anthony Jr. to military school.
Right.
And like the guy saying how the structure changes their life. And I was like, it's true. Send him to military school.
Teach him some self-respect.
Yeah, right, man? So funny. So you're doing pretty well. The crying and everything. You're doing well.
Yeah. Like you notice, instead of being like, oh God, I'm so sad and depressed, it's just like, there's some sadness happening right now. Just like take note of what's happening, see what's going through your mind, and then like try to move on.
Are you, like, does it feel like, I'm just curious, does it feel like anything specific when, like right now when you're sad, can you identify? Sometimes.
And honestly, even when it's just something that comes out of nowhere, like sometimes a very sad just moment will just hit me.
Yeah.
While anything's happening, while I'm wiping down a counter or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, maybe, were you asking like, is it a part of something that's going through your mind, or is it just like a general feeling?
Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there are times before quarantine that like, I could just be sad and not know exactly why. But a lot of times I have awareness. But during this time, I found that I get, like you said, like even wiping down a counter, I could just get like extremely sad. And sometimes it's just different than other sadness in my life.
Yeah.
During this time, it's strange. It's like in this weird encapsulate. I don't know. It's this weird thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there are times when what our bodies are going through is going to affect us psychologically, very directly. So It's just like not getting enough sun, not seeing enough loved ones. Like those things are just going to create deficiencies in your body, and that might express itself as a sadness,
I'm glad you're going to get to see your family.
Yeah, me too. It's been
so nice
since Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long are you going to go for?
I'm going to be gone for a total of 9 days.
Okay.
From the 7th through the 16th. And I'll be hanging out with my parents for about 6 or 7 days. And I'm going to go see a couple friends of mine who live up there.
So nice.
Yeah.
Will you do class from there? You're going to still be in class on Monday?
Definitely.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you another thing. I'm just curious. Do you do so with acting, do you do more theater, film and television? Are you actively pursuing it? I'm curious.
I don't know how to pursue theater right now. I just don't.
Well, now, definitely, yeah.
Oh no, yeah, but even beforehand, I'm just like at a point in my career where I don't have really any kind of theater connections, so I wouldn't even know how to audition for theater.
Right.
Yeah, but I love, again, sketch comedy. Like live sketch comedy is so fun. Live theater is amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you repped? Do you have a representation?
I have I have an exclusive commercial agent, and I'm freelancing with a legit agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Have there still been things coming up during this time?
Very occasionally.
Yeah.
Mostly voiceover. That's about it.
Yeah. I was just saying the other day, it's like, or yesterday I was saying, like production is apparently back on and open. Mm-hmm. Like that's one of the phases that now production can happen. And I'm like, how is that the case? Yeah. I still don't really understand how they would be shooting things right now. Like on set, I don't understand it.
There has to be probably some very strict guidelines.
Yeah.
Only a certain number of people, in a certain amount of space. Yeah.
It's freaking bizarre. But so they can't do huge production then, like show, like network show. Yeah. It's all
I have a buddy who's a writer in LA, and he's saying that they're talking about maybe starting production again in May of next year.
May.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's crazy. Let's meet up outside soon.
Sure. Yeah. Go to a park or something.
You're in the other borough that's far from me, right?
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Yeah. That freaking Brooklyn. I told you when I used to date people from there, I was like, never again. We'd break up. I'd be like done with Brooklyn.
It might as well be Jersey.
I know.
Yeah.
So far from Queens.
Yeah. Where in Queens are you?
I'm in Rego Park, which is like down the block from Forest Hills.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've been to Forest Hills. I went and saw Interpol there one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Forest Hills. It's literally, so I have a CT scan tomorrow and I'll walk over there because it's down the block in Forest Hills. Yeah. Forest Hills is so awesome.
Yeah. It's charming.
It's very charming, right? It's and Rego, like right where I live, there's like everything that you could ever need, but I love the little town of Forest Hills, like Austin Street and stuff. It's really nice.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Queens in general, actually.
Yeah. Why don't you live in Queens? More people should live in Queens.
Yeah, I'd have to take like 20 of my Brooklyn friends with me, It's just the proximity is so nice.
Yes, I know. You build a life. It's like hard to, yeah. I know.
Pick up and go, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. People are so important. So I want to ask you if you know this portion of my show called A Feather in Your Cap.
Oh.
And so when I say a feather in your cap, I mean either a success or an achievement, something maybe that you've learned that has been useful to you in your life or that may be useful to you.
I mean, treat yourself like a friend in need when you're hurting. Pretend that your best friend is like, hey, I'm in pain and I need help.
That's such a, go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's just like, it's one of the most important things I've ever learned.
Wow, it's such a, like, I already know that we've spoken about it, but you said it so succinctly and just like, boom. And it's like, I want to remember that more often.
Yeah. Because I'm still, even with all the yoga and stuff, when people are like, love yourself, give yourself some self-love, I'm like, that's corny as shit.
I get like,
yeah.
Which is my crap, not theirs. It's like, that's me resisting loving myself.
Right. But it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be a big gushy love where you're all like hugs and kisses. It can just be like, I love you, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Way to be.
Yeah. You're doing all right.
Oh, that's really great. I love that. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I'm really glad. See, I knew I didn't even like have to prepare so much to talk to you because you're so easy to talk to, and I love when we get to talk.
Oh, same.
But you're like a talented bastard and a lovely person, and I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy for you. Whatever got you to this point, and it sounds like a lot of work and a lot of
trial and error.
Yeah, pursuing what works and what doesn't. I'm glad you're here and you are who you are.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be friends with you.
Yeah, ditto, man. I'm so happy. I'm happy that you could join me here. And I mean, I don't have anything specific. Is there anything that like we didn't talk about or I should have asked you that I didn't? Because like I said, that happens.
Oh, I don't think so. There was definitely nothing that I was like itching to talk about, you know?
I got to say, like before we got on here, it's like not feeling so great, blah, blah. And the second I'm like talking to you, like I completely forget. It's just really nice and present being with you, you know?
Cool. I'm glad.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm sure we'll have you on again. Cool. And so guys, thank you for tuning in to Big Face. Thank you, Bryce, for being here. And Bryce, I'll put your info with the episode where people can follow you and stuff, but tell us your info, your social media or website, whatever.
So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I'm at Perpetual Craver.
I love that, by the way. Just.
Oh yeah. It was like a nice little moment of inspiration.
Yeah, I love that.
And then I have a very bare bones website, brycecraver.com. You can see some clips. You can check out photos of me doing yoga.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bare bones is, again, you did it.
Yeah.
I have the domain for my website. Mm-hmm. It's still a domain. Like
I had that for 2 years. That was me for 2 years.
It's like, it's a huge feat. So like, yeah, it's bare bones, but you have it.
Right. And it's kind of all people are looking for, right? They're just
right?
Like, he's got his shit together enough to have a website.
I know. I swear, every time I'm like, they have a website, I'm like, I should probably have a website done. You know, it's just not even a name, just something. Yeah, it's really funny, but it's never good enough. I don't have enough footage yet. I don't have enough, but it's crap. It's all crap. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So thank you so much again.
Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. So support us, keep this thing going. You can like, rate, subscribe to Big Face, wherever you're listening or watching. And we love you and appreciate you. And I love and appreciate you, man.
Love you too.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.